great first session, I think.
Yes.
And we're ready for 2 more sessions now. And we're going to start with Hjörtur. He's going to talk about using WordPress as a CMS. So come on.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about using WordPress as a CMS. But before I dive into that, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself and about what we do as a company. Okay, let's turn this on. Yeah, so my name is Hjörtur. I'm Icelandic, and so it's an Icelandic name, and they don't really make it simple in Iceland. So I work at 14 Islands. It's a web development studio in Södermalm, and we are 3 partners in the company, and we focus mostly on building really good user experiences. And we've done a few WordPress projects. These are 2 of them. And what we usually do is we build out these like custom themes for clients. So we go to WordPress.org, we download WordPress, and we customly craft the themes. So that's the kind of work we do. And it's usually like it's like web pages. It's not blogs. It's more like pages with homepage and a generic page and stuff like that. So if you're on Twitter, you can find us at 14 Islands, and we actually have at 14 Islands also on Facebook and Instagram and whatnot. So feel free to reach out to us there. So as you might know, is that WordPress started out as a blogging platform, and some people might claim still today that it's only a blogging platform. But in the latest versions, they've been adding more and more features to make it into like a more like CMS-like system. So that kind of begs the question: like, is it a good CMS? Is it ready to be like called like a full-blown CMS system? And I would like to argue that the answer is yes. Oh. Yeah. One guy in the audience agrees. So let's take just one step back and think about like what's required for a CMS system, like from a technical standpoint. So in our opinion, like you need custom templates to be able to create those designs that you have. Models, which are actually called post types in WordPress. And post types is not really a great word actually, because it kind of feels like posts, but actually there are more post types than posts. For example, a page is a post type. So, but like in every CMS, you need a way to describe the concepts that the client asks for. And then you want custom data. You want to be able to have like dynamic content types on the site, such as like text and images and relationship. So and make this information editable within WordPress. And for this, we use custom fields. And then we think it's really important to have a good workflow, like, and WordPress has like a good editorial workflow. But what I'm more talking about here is like the development workflow. It's important to be efficient. It's important for CMS to be efficient. So let's start with custom templates. So here's an example from one of the projects we did. So this is like the design that we had to work with in the project. And as you can see, like it's impossible to just like find a theme on ThemeForest or to use some generic template to create this kind of design. You have to like customly create all the HTML, all the CSS, and all the JavaScript. And it all starts with something like this. This is like the bare minimum page template you would need in WordPress. So at the top you would define like the name of the template that shows up in the admin user interface. And then you have sub-templates, such as the header and the footer. And in the middle you have the famous the WordPress Loop, which like for me when I was starting WordPress, I thought this was a little bit strange. Like you have this loop everywhere, but still you're maybe like you only have maybe a singular item, but you still have a loop. But this is just how WordPress does it. And there in between you would have the content for the page. So we try to organize our page templates into like a folder, like a page template folder. And WordPress will kind of pick this up, and it's easy to like when you create a new page to pick which template you want to use. And then it's important, like this kind of shows the WordPress roots as a blogging platform, because by default the front page of the site is your latest post, but when using it as a CMS, you pick the front page, you want that to be the home page, and then you specify the post page as the blog page or news page, or what you have as the main like, feed page on the site. So now we have like designed this custom template, and now we want a way to kind of describe the concept that the client has asked you to kind of have on the site. So WordPress has this default post types, which are posts, pages, attachment, revision, and navigation menus. So these kind of you get for free, but you can also define your own post types. And here is an example from a project we worked on called Stockholm 6000. So in this project, we have the concept of a project. So a project is a place in some area in the big Stockholm area. So these are the projects, this one here. And then Stockholm is the project area. So you have like these two models or post types, which you kind of connect together. So one project belongs to a project area. So yeah, so this is kind of the way it's structured. And to create post types, you use this method in WordPress called register post types. So in this case, I'm registering the project post types. So it takes the name of the post type and then an array of options. And in that array, you can define the labels that you use in the admin interface. And it's actually you can define a lot of labels, like what you have for the like add new item buttons and stuff like that. You can go really deep in defining how the WordPress UI shows these values. Then we set it to public to true because we want it to be publicly available on the site. And this is how it shows up in the WordPress admin. And clients think this is really nice because like they are familiar with this concept, and it's great that WordPress kind of shows it in the main navigation menu because it makes it really easy to edit those and to add in the data that they want to add in. So it's presented in a really structural manner. So now we have the models, and now we want to attach some content to these models or data. Here is an example from a website we did for TikTok, and it has this really like long homepage, like with it's a lot of stuff. So it's a lot of content on the site, as you see, and all this content is editable in WordPress, like all these images and image galleries and text and titles and buttons. They have the freedom to basically edit all this content. But what WordPress gives us by default is only this. It's a title, and it's the WYSIWYG editor, the free form editor. So we want something more. So it's possible to add these extra fields, custom fields, to your pages and posts or post types. And this can be done in the WordPress admin UI, and it's essentially like a key value store. Like you can define a key and a value, and it only supports like strings, which it's very limiting. We want, like, in some cases, like WYSIWYG editor, images, galleries, and relationship, and other custom fields. So to make it easy for the clients to upload the content they want to use on the site. So this is the WordPress way to define your own custom fields. So you basically, like, you write this PHP code. This is an example for like a price field, and like you write in the HTML inside the PHP, and you have to also write the logic to make this work in the way you want. And for us, like, it's first of all, I mean, it's a lot of work to do this for the different post types, but it's also, yeah, and you kind of to test it and make it work the way you do. So we went and did some research, and we found this library here, Advanced Custom Fields. It turns out it's really popular. It's used by a lot of companies and developers, and it's really great. Like, it gives you this user interface within WordPress where you can define your own fields, and you can like prioritize how the fields show up in the admin user interface, and it has so much, like, it has so many different kind of field types, like repeater, image, gallery, flexible content. We have actually never had a case where we run out of options to use. Like, it's very extensive, I would say. All these different options, and it also provides a pretty nice API on the page. Like, you would define, like, this is kind of the main method, the field, and then you give just the name of the field, and then it will give you the value for that field. Of course, it's a bit more complicated for the image galleries and those kind of fields, but this is like the core method to use, and the documentation is also pretty good, so it's quite easy to get started and dig into. But there are a few caveats to using advanced custom fields, because it's stored in a database, which makes it like it adds a little bit of overhead. Like, if the page is not cached, as an example, then it's gonna make the page a bit slower, because it has to look up the fields in the database first before showing it on the site. And also, it's not part of the repository if you're working in a Git repository or something like that, because you're like, the post types and everything else is stored in the repository, so it's kind of nice to have all the code in that place. But Advanced Custom Fields has this nice feature to export the fields as a PHP code. So it is possible to, like, for example, just I forgot to say that one thing to think about here is you're not supposed to use the user interface and to use the code. So you have to use like either or. Otherwise it won't work, or you might get like the same field twice. So one possibility is to define like a global variable in the VP config, which tells if you're in development or not. So in development, you could use just the interface, but when you push to production, you would use the exported PHP code to work around the problem with having it stored in a database. So you could like paste it into this advanced custom field PHP file and basically include it like this when not in development mode. Okay, so now we kind of have all the tools that we need to really like customly create our websites. But I want to share with you a little bit about how we how our development workflow is. Starting with the CSS. WordPress has these two different CSS files. One is the editor CSS file, the other is the style CSS file. And the editor CSS files is what you show in the admin user interface for the Visible editor. And it kind of, what you want there is the typography. You want to kind of reuse the typography between those two files. But the style CSS files, you want kind of to include everything in that file. So what we do is we use Sass. How many of you are familiar with Sass? Yeah, quite a lot. So yeah, I mean Sass is awesome. It's a preprocessor for CSS. It has a lot of cool features such as like mixins. You can do calculations within your CSS files. And you can have variables and a lot of stuff like that, so like super useful. But you can also use it to import different files. And so we use it for the editor CSS file, for the CSS file, we just include the things we need. So we can reuse it between the editor CSS and the style CSS. And this will compile like into one file. So, and this is the style CSS file. There we include everything we need, like the typography, layout, buttons, and everything. So this makes it possible for us to reuse the same code in two different places. And then we use Grunt. Who knows Grunt? How many of you know Grunt? Yeah, okay, wow. It's a really advanced audience here. So, yeah. So, Grunt is, it automates manual tasks for you. So, instead of like spending your time on like manually doing things, it kind of can automate a lot of things. And kind of the point I'm also trying to make here is that it's possible when you work with WordPress to basically use the tools that you want. Like these are the tools like Sass and Grunt and Power as an example. These are tools that we use on most of the front-end projects that we work on. So by using a Grunt watcher, you can like automatically compile the CSS on the fly. So like every time you save the Sass, it will automatically compile to CSS. And you can also use it for tasks such as to deploy the site, which is also super nice. Like if you're like working in an agile manner and you're updating and you want to push changes frequently, then this can speed up the process a lot. So another problem we've had when working with WordPress as a team, like team of many developers and maybe working with a client, and we want to frequently show the client the updates we are making to the site, is how to share a database. Because we want to get updates, we want everyone to have the same kind of content, working with the same content. And one way to do this is to just share, like have one remote database and everybody is basically connected to that database. So every time there is a change in the database, everyone just gets it immediately. But it's not really a perfect solution. Like you might, when you're like doing development, you're in your like own small world, and you might just want to focus really on one specific problem. So it can be really annoying if content is updating and something unexpected is happening. So you don't really want that. And it also has the problem that you need to be connected like 100% of the time, which is not always possible. Like sometimes you might like fall out, and you still want to be up and running with WordPress. So we found this library called SyncDB, and we really like. I'm not sure it really gets the credit that it should get. It's super useful actually. It's like a bash script of that syncs the databases for you, and it also syncs like the different assets and stuff, like the media files and stuff like that. So so the way this works is like all the developers can be working on their own database, and yeah, so SyncDB makes it possible to sync these databases when you want to and when you need to. So we think this is a really like good process, and also like often we have this one setup where where the client can always look at the latest working code that is up to date. So the way this works is like you can either like pull from the main server when you need to, and this actually fits really well with a Git workflow. Like you pull the latest repository, and then you kind of pull the latest database and the media files you need. So you can always be in like a sync. And it's also possible to push changes. If you make some changes locally, you can push them. So you can go like both directions. So and this helps a lot, we think, when you're working as a team together in a WordPress project. So my last point is making the site SEO friendly, and this is also a really popular plugin. I guess many of you know it, or yeah, I see you nodding. But yeah, we highly recommend using it. It takes care of so many things for you, like, and it does like titles and description and all the metadata you want for your page. And yeah, like all the open graph text and for Facebook and Twitter and everything, it helps the editor to kind of manage this content. It's super useful, and it even actually, like when writing the content, it rates your content. It can give you some grades, like how you're actually doing as an editor. Like, is this content, is it fulfilling the keywords that we want to use and stuff like that? So, highly recommend it. We use it on every project. So to wrap this up, lessons learned using WordPress as a CMS. I mean, WordPress is really flexible. It sometimes means that you have to do more yourself, such as like the internationalization and stuff like that. You have to kind of like figure it out on your own sometimes. And it allows you to make these like custom templates, custom post types, and this custom data that you want for your sites. And it's also great that you can have your own workflow. Like if you have your own like front end workflow that you're comfortable with, you can use that with WordPress. I mean, it's free. Everyone loves that. It's really mature. It's been around for a long time. The user interface, like the WordPress admin client, has a really good user interface, in my opinion. I mean, I feel really good to recommend it to my clients. It's like to hand it over to them. It feels good, and especially with the latest version. I mean, it's responsive. It's just nice. So compared to other CMSs, especially. And the community is really active. This is almost the best part. I mean, the documentations are really good. Like if you have some problems, like you can always reach out. Somebody will help you. You have meetups like this one. And it's I mean, WordPress is pretty active. It's like it's evolving at a fast pace. So we love it. We think it's great, and we really look forward to see how it's going to evolve going forward. I think that's kind of the most exciting part. Thank you.
I think we have time for one question.
One question. Yes.
The sync DB thing. You said I didn't exactly understand what it was. I understand what it does, but
I see.
It was what is some kind of shell script or
yes, it's like a script.
So where is the database that you share? Where is that located?
So it uses SSH for the communications. So you need to just have a database on a server which supports SSH communication without the password. Like you have to set up, like similar like you work with Git, basically. It's kind of the same process.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Great.
Thank you.